Good evening, I'm Patricia Vallone with a CTV News update. Education unions and associations across the D.C. region unite for a National Day of Resistance. The coalition is demanding a unified and equity-driven plan for reopening schools in the D.C. region, including consistent information on when and where educators and staff should get a COVID-19 vaccine.
Where I live, I can walk across the street and 300 yards and be in the District of Columbia. And when Prince George's County opens schools and the district does not, or Prince George's County opens schools or keeps schools closed, but we have employees that live in other jurisdictions, it's creating a lot of havoc for families.
It is critical to understand that our workforce is regional, and many are employed in school systems different from where they live within this region. That is contributing to the regional spread. When we moved to distance learning in March of last year, it was because we had seen a novel virus begin to spread rapidly in our community. Today, the numbers of viral spread are much higher, but systems are beginning to return to in-person learning. This is the most dangerous time to be shifting away from distance learning. We must continue to protect our staff and students until the metrics are met and the data is trending downward.
This was the first regional compact meeting for the group. The coalition plans to hold more in the future. Maryland's COVID death toll now stands at 6,196. That's according to the latest figures from the state health department. 67 deaths were reported just today. The health department today is also reporting 2,600 new COVID infections. Currently, more than 1,900 residents are hospitalized with the virus. The man many accused of inciting a deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol last week is calling the latest efforts to impeach him a witch hunt. President Donald Trump spoke with reporters as he left the White House today en route to Texas and claimed Democrats are the ones causing tremendous danger to the country. Trump called efforts to impeach him a second time absolutely ridiculous and accused Democrats of doing a really terrible thing. The president defended Wednesday's rally and speech just before the insurrection as totally appropriate. 6 people died in connection with the riot, including 2 Capitol Hill police officers. Fallout from the riots at the Capitol continues as some police officers land in hot water for their alleged involvement. CTV's Katira Jones is in the studio with more.
An Anne Arundel County police officer has been suspended for their alleged involvement in the domestic terrorist attack at the U.S. Capitol last week. The department says it's investigating the officer's participation to determine if any laws or policies have been violated. Meantime, 2 officers from Virginia have been placed on administrative leave after attending the deadly riots. According to reports, Sergeant T.J. Robertson and Jacob Fracker from Rocky Mount Police Department say they did not do anything illegal while in the district. Also, 2 U.S. Capitol police officers have been suspended, and at least 10 are under investigation for their roles during the assault at the Capitol. Meantime, the FBI put out a warning yesterday that armed extremist groups are planning to march on state capitals across the country this weekend. Reporting in the control room, Katira Jones, CTV News.
A third lawmaker tests positive for COVID-19 after the Capitol lockdown. Representative Brad Schneider is one of 3 Democratic House members to test positive for the coronavirus this week. Schneider says that while he was sheltering in place during the deadly riot, several Republicans refused to wear masks. He is currently isolating. Dozens of Maryland lawmakers are calling for the state's only Republican member of Congress to step down. 84 lawmakers in all are calling for Representative Andy Harris to resign for his role in the attempted coup at the U.S. Capitol last week. The legislators wrote a letter condemning Harris for the role that they say that he played in undermining a free and fair election and inciting violence. The letter follows a call last week from the state's Democratic Party urging Harris to resign. Harris, who represents the 1st Congressional District, says he is not stepping down and claims that his concerns over voter fraud were legitimate. Climate change activists vow to hit the ground running tomorrow when the Maryland General Assembly convenes for the 2021 session. Legislative, religious, and health care and union workers hosted a news conference regarding their plan to introduce the Climate Solutions Now Act. The measure is designed to put Maryland on a course to have net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2045. The bill also calls for investments in communities that have been hurt by the worst by pollution and other environmental hazards. One of the bill's sponsors, Senator Paul Pinsky, says it will help all Marylanders.
We think this is going to benefit every community. Look, Baltimore City and Prince George's has a fairly significant impoverished community. People below the poverty line. They've been disproportionately affected by this. So our hope, Delegate Stein, if I can speak for him and myself, is to improve the quality of life, the quality environment, with particular emphasis on those people who've been disproportionately affected. So in that regard, yes, it has some significant effect on Prince George's, but I think our vision is to move the state forward and also hopefully be a model for the whole United States government.
The bill also calls for the electrification of the state fleet, reducing emissions from government buildings, and planting 5 million trees over 10 years. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. We'll have more news in just a moment.
For the latest information on COVID-19 in Maryland, visit the State Health Department website. That's health.maryland.gov. Again, health.maryland.gov. Click the link to the COVID-19 information portal. There you'll find all the latest information about coronavirus. You'll find daily updates on cases and fatalities. Answers to questions about testing and the governor's stay-at-home order are available as well. For specific information about Prince George's, visit princegeorgescountymd.gov. That's princegeorgescountymd.gov. The site offers information about local services for residents and businesses. There's a link for COVID-19 relief donations. Also, food pantry locations are listed. And if you have any questions, call the county COVID-19 hotline at 301-883-6627. That's 301-883-6627.
I moved to Florida with literally pennies in my pocket and a prayer. I needed a new start. Dacian looks like a very typical 3-year-old until you ask him, "What's your name? How old are you?" My son has a lot of behaviors that would show as being autistic. Most kids can tolerate a variety of foods, but unfortunately for Dacian, everything has to be organic and raw. I wasn't ashamed to go to the food pantries. It's expensive to eat healthy, and nutrition is very important to Dacian's health. The healthy organic food that we receive dramatically helped his social skills. Most people would say, she really doesn't have much of a life. But to me, I have everything right there next to me and my son.
It's so sad. It's not.
Police have identified the victim in yesterday's fatal shooting in the Cheverly area. He is 19-year-old Carlos Garcia Morales of Riverdale. He was found about 8 a.m. outside of an apartment building in the 3400 block of 55th Avenue. Anyone with information on the shooting is asked to contact authorities. Well, there is a new chair for the Prince George's County Board of Education. As we reported yesterday, County Executive Angela Alsobrooks has named Juanita Miller to succeed Dr. Alvin Thornton as board chair. Board member Shayla Adams Stafford says that she's excited. Adams Stafford says this allows the Board of Education to push forward crucial policies to help parents and students during the pandemic.
The biggest policy would be for us to implement an equity learning hub, in which the learning hubs would exist in some of our areas where students really need the most support, providing students with food, support with their online virtual instruction, and really we would target students that are special needs and English language learners.
Alsobrooks also named Sonia Williams as vice chair of the county's Board of Education. The public is invited to participate in 2 virtual meetings with the Prince George's Board of Education on Tuesday, January 19th. The board will conduct a fiscal year 2022 operating budget work session and public hearing. The work session will begin at 5 p.m. and the hearing takes place at 7 in the evening. The next hearing is slated for February 2nd. The county's housing authority is looking for landlords to join its Housing Choice Voucher program. The program provides rental assistance to low-income families. The housing authority is offering one-time cash incentives for landlords interested in renting their single-family homes or apartment units. It's also seeking people who are willing to make their properties accessible for families with disabilities. If you're registered with the Housing Choice Voucher Program, you can apply for a grant of up to $10,000 to make your property accessible for people with disabilities.
It promotes choice for neighborhoods, for choice for circumstances that you may need, for choices in terms of being close to transit, being close to schools, being close to commercial. So having folks have a degree, this is a great county. It's a very diverse county. Having landlords participate in our program and expanding that degree of participation only promotes greater choice for housing options.
For more information, call 301-883-5501. A task force created by Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh urges the General Assembly to provide counsel for low-income tenants in eviction proceedings. Frosh also wants to outlaw the court's authority to order arrests and jailing of people who fail to comply with court-ordered debt payments. The task force is also recommending raising the eviction filing fees for landlords from $15 to $120 and prohibiting the eviction of tenants who owe $600 or less. Well, drive through a red light camera in Maryland and chances are you'll find a ticket in the mail soon after. That is, unless you drive a rental car, because they're currently exempt in the state. But that could soon change. Delegate Al Carr has already pre-filed HB 383, a measure that would repeal the exemption.
There is an exemption written into the law that rental cars are exempt from any sort of red light camera citations. So this bill would simply just end that exemption. None of the other surrounding states that have red light cameras have an exemption like that. It's better for safety that all car, whether it's your own car or a rental vehicle, everyone should be subject to the same law.
I would imagine that the rental company has to go through a process to find the people and track them down and send it. So how would that work?
Right. So I think when this law was originally written, maybe 25 years ago, there was some difficulty thinking about how do you track down the renter. That's no longer an issue. We solved this problem for school bus cameras, so we can simply do the same thing for a red light camera. So the agency would send a notice to the rental car company. The rental car company would look up and provide the information about the renter so that ticket could be sent to the correct place.
The 2021 General Assembly session begins tomorrow. NBA news, the Wizards win. The Washington Wizards hosted the Phoenix Suns last night and finally got in the win column again. The team has been struggling with injuries and poor defense, but with Bradley Beal leading the way with 34 points, the home team came away with a 128-107 victory.
I thought our offense helped our defense. We were taking care of the ball and we had good proper spacing. We took good shots, and that allows you to get back in transition. They didn't get a lot of transition points, and that's how we want to play. We want to play with some good offensive spacing because it helps your defense. It's the first part of your defense is a good shot.
The 3-8 Wizards play again tomorrow night against the Utah Jazz. Well, let's get a quick check now on your 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 28 degrees. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 49, a low of 31. And Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 53 and a low around 32. Friday, partly sunny with daytime temps near 52 degrees and dropping to a low around 37 in the evening. Now for your community calendar, the county will be providing grab-and-go meals for residents tomorrow. Meals will be distributed at the Metropolitan Seventh-day Adventist Church in Hyattsville. That'll begin at 10 a.m. The church is located at 6307 Riggs Road. Recipients will receive 1 box per car. For more information, call 301-853-2224. And that wraps up our newscast. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. Have a great night.